Hello, and how awesome is it to be coming back to you from the place where my channel started accidentally, which still blows my mind that you all came on this journey when it was really meant just for family and friends. So thank you for that. And we've been through a lot, so I so appreciate that you're on this ride with me. And I want to share with you why I don't think my latest meds are going to work. This is a medication that I took in the summer because when they told me back in February, if I did nothing by midsummer, I would be feeling side effects of the cancer, and by fall, I could be gone. So, okay, I took 2 medications over the summer for a very short amount of time. Both of them had horrible side effects, so I decided to quit medication altogether. I have to catch some new people up. And so when I went back to New York and found out my scans said that I'm actually stable, I'm still stage 4, I was offered the opportunity to take this medication again. I had side effects before. The fatigue was really bad. I felt like I was under a dark cloud. My tumor markers dropped the first time I took this med. So we're trying to make that happen again, right? Because even though my cancer's stable, my tumor markers are rising. So when my oncologist and I were talking about the schedule that I was on over the summer and ways to dispense this medication where maybe I have less side effects and still the benefit. And because the hospital doesn't have a portal here in Alaska and my doctor's going off of my memory, I know what the meds were supposed to be, right? I was supposed to do 7 days on, 7 days off. And I didn't realize it until very recently, but I had 2 weeks in between. And so when we started this medication now, 5 days on, 5 days off, and then tried to do 5 days on again, and I miscounted and did 6. And so I've ended up taking more medication than I did the first time in a shorter amount of time. And that was on me. Well, that was a huge mistake. When I went in to talk about my scans and to iron out the medication, I'm in the office with Dr. Streisand, and I'm really upset because she goes to type up her clinical notes so that I can take them with me to Alaska, along with my PET scan results and my CAT scan results. I have the MRI, I have everything, okay? And I'm looking at these test results and they say normal, traces, this, that, and the other, like, are all non-alarming. I really wanted her to tell me why we were comparing 2 PET scans 2 years apart and they look almost identical. And that's the only thing in the clinical notes. Meanwhile, in February, I had this CAT scan that said I had tumors all around my bowel loops and all around my peritoneum, and that, I was terminal. And so now I feel like everything that I experienced has been erased. This cancer is stable, showing up but not growing, and yet my tumor markers are rising. So where is this cancer? And she looked at me and said, I wish I had answers for you. She suggested therapy. I'm all for therapy. Been in therapy for a really long time. That's not what I need. What I need are answers. I need facts. I need to understand what's happening to me and to make sense of all the decisions that I've made this whole past summer. She had fit me in on a lunch, so she had other patients. We could not talk about this more. I walked out the door and into the parking lot, and this happened.
Where is this cancer? Where is it, and why can't we measure how fast it's growing? She said, it's not growing in any one place because it's everywhere. And while we're talking about me going back to Alaska, and I leave in just a couple of days, I'm asking her about how Tim and I are making plans for going back in the spring. And she's like, let's just get you through going to Haynes and coming back and try to get you through the holidays. And I'm like, I don't know how to contextualize any of this. I was fine knowing I was coming back here to die, and now I get to go back. But I'm making like all these ideas of what else I want to do, and I bought all these art supplies thinking I could finish the things I wanted. And now it's like, oh, but we're just talking about the holidays. I said, I feel like I can live 5 more years. And she held my hands and said, well, then that's how we act. And so I've spent the past month since this PET scan thinking, great, I have more time. And it felt like a lot more. But my tumor markers are going up. The actual fuck is going on? I still know nothing.
All of this is rooted in reality. But what I couldn't see at the time was the beginning of a spiral that was way more than a mood swing that I had forgotten about that happened to me in the summer on the same medication. So I went home and I crafted a text to Dr. Streisand. And it was all these questions. Why are you erasing my entire lived experience in the summer? Why do I feel like none of this is real? Why don't I trust myself and my own perceptions? None of these things are things that she can answer. And I know this. And the text is getting longer and longer. And Tim comes up and he's like, what are you up to? And I'm working out a text. I'm not sending it yet. Can you just listen to what I have to say? And when I read this text, he was like, and he was trying to talk me off the ledge, and he couldn't. Every time he came back with something logical, I came back with something emotional. And it was unrecognizable what was happening because, like I said, these things are rooted in reality. These are real questions. It was my reaction that started to go off the walls. So he left me alone. I told him I still needed to work on the text. I was going to boil it down to some very specific questions. He came up 4 hours later. He's like, what are you doing now? And his face just went white. Here I am. I am typing like mad. 4 hours later. When I got so paranoid that I couldn't trust myself and that I couldn't trust science and that I couldn't trust the results of tests, I needed to prove to myself every single thing that has ever happened to me. And while it started as me trying to track my symptoms, and I should have started from the present and worked my way back, something flipped in the meantime, and I started from the very beginning in 2019. And that included my diagnosis, calling my husband, what job I was working when this happened, every date, time, I even tracked the time, facility, the doctor I saw and what I saw them for. Every complication, every ER visit, every chemotherapy session, the ones that were failed that I had to cancel, the times that they started me on medication and then canceled it because I had bad reactions. I put in everything. Additional testing I had done because I have a clotting issue that nobody knew about. There were just so many things. And this list just went on and on and on. And at the end of 4 hours, when Tim came to check on me, I wasn't even out of 2019. The last time he saw me in this kind of state, it was not medically induced. It was real. I had suicidal ideations because the chemotherapy was so hard on my body, and I was in the ER so many times that I called it claustrophobia in my own body, where I was in the shower punching the wall, or he'd be in the living room and he'd hear me slapping the wall or the headboard because I just wanted out and I didn't know how to get there. And I started thinking about all the pills that I had from surgery, from anything. And I was like, I'll make myself a cocktail. I will find a way out. And so I ended up at a psychiatrist's where they had to give me anti-anxiety meds and or whatever else. I don't even remember what they were, to keep me alive because I didn't want to live anymore. I wasn't like that this time. This time it was more, it was anxiety mixed with paranoia. This was way further than anything I'd read about side effects with this medication, where this medication is known to have, they call them mood swings, okay? But it also says, that could mean depression. It can mean feelings of emptiness and hopelessness. That's what some of the literature said. Well, then I plugged it into Google and I was like, what are the psychological side effects of this medication? And holy cow, they literally use the word manic. And that's what I felt. I felt manic. And it was, I would cry at the drop of a hat for no good reason. Tim would hug me and I'd cry. I didn't want to come to Alaska. I was like, I don't think I can go. I don't think I can trust any of this. If I get there and I'm without you and and if we don't have any time. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And I think, when I say rooted in reality, 3 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a friend here saying, if I've got to take a bottle of pills to off myself because things get really bad and I don't have care here and we don't have death with dignity, I'll take care of myself. I will do it outside of the purview of anybody else so nobody gets into trouble for this. I don't want any suspicion on why someone else would do this to me, right? And she was actually telling me, listen, call me after you do it and I will take the phone as you walk out into the woods. Because that's what I said. I'll go for a walk in the woods is my euphemism for getting out of this house. Nobody has to find me here. And she said, I will hold the phone for you while you and Tim say goodbye and I will hang it up when it's done. And I've gone from that conversation to go to Alaska. So yeah, there are some serious mood swings that are going on that are real, but they don't involve, and you see me now, I'm sane. I'm like stable in my mind, in my emotions. That was not the case for 4 days. I was just inconsolable. And even after I got here, and experienced so much joy. You guys saw me with the lupins on my swings. And then I had a surprise birthday party. I made it to 55, which is a big thing to celebrate. But yeah, I did not know what to do with all of this information. But then I spun out from it way more than I ever have. And you guys have seen me go through a lot. I cry, but I don't get incapacitated for days because of anything that's gone on. To top it all off, there are a few other things going on. I have some breast pain on the side that I still have left, and it's 2 different spots, and both of those spots are where when they did the biopsy last time, they placed 2 little clips. One is a top hat and one is a cork. They just use these to differentiate visually when they're doing the scan to say this tumor by the top hat is such and such size. The other one is such and such size, and then they can monitor it and they don't have to go searching for it every time. So a couple of things could be going on. One, it could be the cancer returning. My tumor markers, even being on these meds and taking it more than I did the first time when my tumor markers went down, this time they are continuing to rise. So I don't think the meds are working. It could be cancer. Or they could be working to some extent. Maybe my tumor markers would have risen further than they have. And maybe this medication is actually killing the cancer. And I've felt that before. I've taken a medication called Kisqali, and for the first few weeks, I had pain. And the tumor markers were going down, down, down. So that was the cancer dying. The other thing that I've read that can happen is where these little clips are, you can develop nerve bundles around them that cause pain. That would probably be what happens to me, right? Because it's always the 1%. So here's what's going to happen. I stopped taking the meds. I was supposed to start taking them the day after I arrived in Alaska, and I stopped. it wasn't just the mood swings. I started having so much issue coming up the stairs. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe going from the couch to the kitchen. It felt like, you know, when you have an open wound and it oozes, it's not bleeding, but you have that like serum, right? That's what I felt in my lungs and could taste for a week. And I know that when they threw me a surprise birthday party here, which was really awesome, we laughed all night long and I had no voice the next day. But that happens up in your vocal cords. That doesn't make your lungs hurt. So my lungs were hurting. The skin on the roof of my mouth is still peeling off to this day. My hands are actually doing okay. They still look like, you know, the red lines, but they don't hurt. My feet are okay. Like all the things that happened to me last time aren't so bad, but the other things, my gums bleeding, my nose bleeds for the last week. And I'm not even on the meds anymore. So my thinking is this. I know Alaska is my medication. That is the best medicine I could possibly have. And I'm going to stop while I'm here for the next 5 weeks. I'm not taking anything. I'm in my happy place. And so I'm going to run with that. I'm going to make some art. I started fostering a kitten. Oh my gosh, she's so sweet. She's so shy. She's under the couch now in my office, but
And they're so bony.
I finally, after feeding her twice, got her to like rub her head into my hand
Are we friends now? Are we friends now?
and
Yeah.
really just snuggle into me. And I got my first purr in the middle of the night because I went and got her and brought her into bed. She walked back over to the, all the way across the house and back under the couch while I was sleeping. But
Baby.
she was snuggling. So anyway, I'm fostering her, hoping to get her a home for the holidays and just spending time with friends and hosting a dance party on Saturday. So yeah, that's going to be my medicine. I know you guys get subscription notices that, you know, I've posted something new. I don't know if you've noticed how I've arranged my channel. So I put my medical update in the main box, the latest one. And then under that is a playlist of all the cancer journey stuff. Under that is memories for Tim. And under that is the memory box where I call it This One Wild Life, and that's for me and my friends. And so I know a lot of you comment sometimes like, she's posting all these things that, you know, are great, but what's going on with her? Sometimes I'm just posting for my family and friends, okay? And I know many of you are like, live your life, girl. You guys are awesome. But for those of you who are looking for more, just follow the one playlist. You don't have to watch me, my friends, my family having good times. I know it's not as relevant for what you're looking for, and that's okay. Like I said, you guys are you're my accidental cheerleading squad. I sat in the airport reading so many beautiful messages when I told you all I was on my way back here to Alaska. Thank you for all of your support. You guys are the best. So thank you for being in my corner. And I can never say this enough. I'm probably going to say it at the end of every single video because you're just amazing. So, okay, until next time, I love you all, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. I forgot to mention, one of you corrected me on my last video. I talked about radioactive uptake in a CAT scan, and I'm wrong. That's what happens in PET scans. In CAT scans, it's an iodine dye. While I know this, when I was explaining it, I explained it wrong, and so thank you for correcting me because the last thing I want to do is put out misinformation. So appreciate you. Thank you.